A Hunter in Teyvat, Chapter 32, Fan Fiction, by Azazyel. A few minutes later, we heard a door within Noelle's home close, and Eula moved off of me and rolled to the side as the room had heated up a bit, and Lumine managed to escape Amber to begin getting dressed. "Eula, Amber, mind giving us a moment to get dressed?" I asked politely, and they nodded, taking their space bags with them into the living room to presumably get changed. With the room now cleared and Paimon not even in the room at all, I looked over to Lumine and asked the pressing question. "So Lumine, you put a label on us, and what's with blessing me with Eula?" Honestly, I was rather confused, as despite how possessive she was previously, she still pushed Eula towards me and didn't hesitate to get close to Amber. Lumine hummed as she put on her dress, and after she fastened a couple of clasps to secure it, she gave me her full attention as she spoke candidly. "Jake, to put it lightly, why I am very bisexual. It's a common thing for travelers as we inevitably get bored and try new things, as is in our nature, and although as long as I am with you, I will accept your male pride and not mess with other men, you need to understand that I am going to have some fun with other girls, though I will do my best to bring you in on it." She then giggled perversely before continuing. "A good dick makes a decent sapphic experience into an awesome threesome." A loud audible facepalm rang out as I dragged my hand down my face before I smiled wryly and asked, "So does that mean I can make a harem or something?" Lumine burst out in hysterical laughter for a whole minute and had to hold on to the edge of the bed in order to keep herself from falling to the ground from her laughter, but after she got herself together, she gave me a competitive look as she grinned. "Now that's the spirit. I will say yes, but beware me stealing them away," she teased, sticking out her tongue as we both finished getting dressed in our adventure gear. After we left our room and arrived in the living room, I saw the girls had already gotten dressed, and Noelle was puttering about in the kitchen, humming as she made us some tea from the smell of it. "The tea smells great, Noelle," I called out, complimenting the maid, and I could see from the living room into the kitchen, and how Noelle's body language seemed to come alive at my compliment. "Good morning, Jake. Breakfast is now served," Noelle said as she spun around gracefully with a platter on her arms, and after she placed it on a tray in front of us on the couch, I saw it was a massive mound of scrambled eggs, a stack of pancakes, and a smaller stack of what looked to be fried sausages. "Should you find anything is not to your taste, please do not hesitate at all to let me know," she said cheerily as she set several plates in front of us, and I realized she basically made a mound of food for us to simply take as much as we wanted, kinda like a much more limited buffet or cafeteria. Seeing Paimon literally vibrating in the air as she stared gluttonously at the massive pile of food, I realized I should definitely give Noelle something for her troubles. "Here, Noelle," I said, gently tossing a larger Mora coin to her. "Feeding us all in a Paimon is definitely not cheap, so take that to restock your pantries." Before the maid and Paimon could interject, I swiftly stuffed a whole pancake I stabbed with my fork into Paimon's mouth to shut her up, before I looked back to Noelle. "Me and Lumine are both accomplished adventurers and are getting plenty of loot in our adventures." Seeing her still looking uncertain, I added, "If you don't take that money, then we won't be comfortable enjoying your hospitality because we would feel like a mooch." Noelle shook her head but still pocketed the Mora. I gave her, but sadly, Paimon's never-ending gluttony saved her from choking on the pancake I shoved in her mouth, and she pointed dramatically at me. "Hey! What did you mean by calling Paimon a Paimon? I will have you know that Paimon is the only Paimon in the world. If there were more than one Paimon in the world, then the rest of the world would starve to death," I said dryly, making the girls in the room giggle as Paimon began to throw her own temper tantrum. After a few minutes of eating, Eula gracefully laid down her silverware and looked at me and Lumine. "Honorary Knights. We will be reconvening with the rest of our people on what to do with the lyre now that a trusted adventure squad was sent to retrieve the other tier as we cleared out the Fatui encampment." "Who retrieved it if you don't mind me asking?" I asked curiously, and Amber giggled nervously as she traded a look with Eula. Eula visibly took a deep breath as her eyebrow twitched, and she spoke slowly as though she was trying her best not to curse the people she was mentioning. "Yes, that fiscal girl. Although she isn't a noble, she tries entirely too hard to act like a noble lady. But in the end, she is a worthy companion you can trust in the field," Eula said wistfully. Amber's face was patently being held up as she mumbled about a boy being a walking disaster. So Bennett is still a bad luck magnet. Well, it's good that we won't need to go clear that domain. So, we merely need to fix up the lyre, and then we can have Venti called Valen, so we can try to purify him. I doubt it will be that convenient, though," I said, remembering how an abyss mage was following and acting as some kind of evil fairy whispering into the dragon's ears to complement the mental erosion from the cursed blood coursing through the dragon's veins. Don't be so negative, Jake. Everything will work out eventually. Amber consoled me as she finished up her food, and we did the same. Alright, well, in any case, let's get going to the Dawn Winery, which is where the liar and everyone else is supposed to meet. Noelle, we will see you later, take care of Mondstadt while we are running about. Eula said. Bye, Noelle. Me, Lumine, and Paimon called out as we left Noelle's apartment and started heading to the front gate of the city. Once we left the city and we weren't being surrounded by people, I asked the girls if I could get us there quicker. As you guys know, I can summon some of the things I have killed before. If you guys want, I can summon a couple Anemo elementals for us to fly on. You can help us fly. Amber cried out, extremely excited, even going as far as hugging my arm to her chest in her excitement, and I saw her eyes were wide with her dream of freely flying, possibly coming true to some extent. Although the plan was to sit on the stone wings that surround the Anemo elemental, the resurrected elemental could actually send powerful gales of Anemo energy around that could easily uplift someone wearing a wing glider and allow them to fly. I mean, we can. But it will kinda tiring, I imagine. I said before explaining how I would basically have the Anemo elementals fly around us and send a constant updraft of Anemo energy beneath us so we could easily fly with the wing gliders. Amber obviously wanted to do it, and Lumine also was interested, but Eula wasn't all too keen on being thrown around in the air. Come on, Eula. Please. Amber begged almost childishly as she somehow took out her Baron bunny and held it in front of her chest and below her chin, looking at Eula with watery eyes. HAA. Fine, you two can fly there while me and Jake sit on the elementals and make sure you two don't end up killing yourselves. Eula finally yielded to Amber's teary face, and I couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of Amber twisting Eula around her fingers. I flared my aura and was covered in a silver light with a Schnee glyph forming beneath me and spreading across the ground. Finally 2 large Anemo elementals floated out of my glyph and gently landed on the ground with the large stone wings that surrounded their bodies moved to the top, giving me and Eula a somewhat flat surface to sit upon. Man, just imagine how fast we could go if we're flying on an Anemo hypostasis. My face twitched at Amber's dangerous thoughts, and I recalled how these Anemo elementals had a stage of evolution similar to Pokemon, with them starting out in the form of an Anemo butterfly, then would turn into these Eyes of the Storm elementals and then finally become almost sentient when they grew into a Anemo hypostasis. And those things were super dangerous as they could cause powerful sonic booms when they manifested Anemo-infused wings of energy that would shoot blades of wind and balls of condensed air that would explode with the force of a powerful bomb. Needless to say, they were extremely quick in the air as well, with how they could control the air and basically reduce their drag and air resistance to 0. Hey Jake, you said you know Mondstadt pretty well, do you know where those hypostasis thingies? Amber said. Paimon loudly asked, getting the attention of the other girls while we were swiftly flying over the countryside. I mentally cursed Paimon at her for asking such a dumb question, but I nevertheless answered with a firm answer. Yes, I do know where there is one. But under no circumstances are we going to mess with it, as it's completely immune to Anemo, which is our element, and with its flight capabilities, I don't want to rely completely on my ruin guards either. This world wasn't based on game logic. The Anemo boss would likely never land and would simply bully us from a distance if we forced a fight, not to mention we would need a method to keep it from simply flying away to survive. Ah. Paimon looked seeing monsters that don't want to eat Paimon. She said, shrugging in a what-can-do manner. Please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening, and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories.